We are fighting for our land, aren't we? But not with weapons, you see. Rather, it's about engaging in conversations, participating in discussions, speaking with politicians, and distributing our narrative across the globe. Because violence ultimately achieves nothing at all. And we are able to fight, but not against other people. We are merely protecting ourselves in a way. We have never, ever taken up our Kurdish weapons against civilian people or any other human beings. About 20 or 25 years ago, it evolved into a model. The residents residing in Rojava now, they're no longer focused on religious ideals. Instead, their thoughts are directed towards freedom, democracy, and humanity. They've shifted their perspective completely. And they have almost as much. So many people have come from Rojava to Germany, to the entire EU, completely worldwide.
Mena-Watch, the independent think tank specializing in the Middle East.
A very warm welcome to Mena-Watch. My name is Jasmin Arémi. I am a journalist with Mena-Watch, and my guest this evening is Alan Wali. Alan Wali is from Kobane in the Kurdish region of Rojava in Syria and has been living in Germany for years. He is a strong advocate for Kurdish self-determination, fervently supporting partnerships with Israel. These alliances are built upon shared values such as freedom and a common resistance to all forms of oppression. And that's exactly what we'd like to talk to him about today. Mr. Wali, it's wonderful to have you here and thank you for your time. You are originally from Kobane in Rojava, Kurdistan, and have been residing in Germany for several years now. Could you please elaborate on your journey from Kobane to this place and what your current activities entail?
Indeed. First and foremost, I wish to express my gratitude to you, your channel, website, and live streams. Well, I actually hail from Kurdistan, specifically Kobane in Rojava. That's essentially the northern part of Syria, you see. A century ago, Kurdistan was split into four. This is the well-known Kurdish story spanning four nations: Turkey, Iran, Syria, and Iraq. Each part of Kurdistan, the Kurdish areas, has a different name in Kurdish. For example, the part in Syria is called Rojava, in Iraq it's called Bashur, in Turkey it's Bakur, and in Iran it's called Rojalat, where the sun shines. And Rojava means where the sun goes down, the sunset, for example. I come from Kobane in Rojava, Kurdistan. I spent my early childhood in the city of Kobane and my small village, Sharakle, alternating between them. Subsequently, I spent my youthful years in the Syrian capital city of Damascus. With the war erupting in Syria, I then returned to Kobane, and it was in that very place that I personally experienced all the brutality and utter devastation of my city. That was also a critical point when my family and our community, unfortunately, were attacked by the so-called ISIS. With the backing of Turkey, they completely devastated our city at that time. Due to the conflict in Kobane, we were compelled to seek refuge in Turkey. Yes, and then I initially found myself in Turkey. Due to the persistent and ongoing conflict and the immense threat to the lives of, well, our people in my city, in my village, we were compelled, as I've already mentioned to you, to proceed to leave Kobane and flee to Turkey. From Kobane into Turkey, to depart Kobane and then flee to Turkey. And from that point onward, my extensive travels towards Europe essentially commenced. Ultimately, I eventually found myself in Germany. And that nation, for me, apart from Kurdistan, truly evolved into my second homeland, a place I could wholeheartedly embrace as my own.
How long have you been in Germany now?
I have been residing in Germany since the year 2015.
Which of your experiences, stemming from the war, your escape, and the challenging situation of the Kurds, has most profoundly influenced your political awareness and shaped your perspectives?
When one is born into a society where, from childhood, there is nothing but hatred, constant threats, and even death directed against the Kurdish people and their cause, prison. When you experience all of that, you begin, even in childhood, to really understand this political framework, you see? And we, the Kurds, have endured this profound and sorrowful experience, a primary tragic narrative spanning centuries where we are compelled to essentially reconstruct our own city once more. This autonomy, for instance, exists in Kurdistan, Iraq, in Bashur. It's a source of pride for us that we have at least one part, one autonomous region out of the 4 parts of Kurdistan, and we celebrate it everywhere. We inform others that we possess a land known as Kurdistan, and it represents merely one segment of the 4 pieces, has come back. And so my political consciousness started back in my childhood.
When exactly did Israel and Judaism first become a topic of personal interest to you?
Israel and the Kurds. So when I was just a child, back then my grandfather always, both my grandfather and my father, in a closed setting, talked about Israel, because you are also aware of what the previous government in Syria was like. Bashar al-Assad, he was a dictator, and his father was also a dictator. My grandpa and my father, they told many stories back then about the Jews, about the Kurds, about cooperation, how they supported each other, until, for example, now Israel has its state back, rebuilt, and they had to speak quite softly even when conversing with us, The fear that a neighbor or other people might overhear, and report on our family so that no one would cause trouble for us. If that happened, then my family would have been thrown in prison and might never have gotten out, for example. They would have lost their lives as well. However, the Kurds consistently displayed immense courage. They always spoke about Israel. Of course, there are also many people who simply, because of their religion, the Islamic religion, they say that Israel is currently engaged in a conflict with Islam against Muslim people. Democracy, not through humanity, And sadly, this situation is also prevalent in Kurdistan because many people there are quite religious in numerous parts.
You quite often speak on this topic. You are very active online, and you've also given interviews, for example, in the Times of Israel. You very frequently speak about the parallels between the history of the Kurds and the history of the Jewish people.
The Kurds and Jews indeed share that experience, the ongoing persecution they endure, their statelessness, and the persistent attempts to erase their intellectual heritage, wouldn't you say? Moreover, the resilience and unwavering determination to safeguard their distinct cultural identity have consistently formed a fundamental cornerstone for both these distinct communities. And the experience of the Jewish people in constructing their nation offers a profound and powerful precedent for us Kurds, inspiring our struggle to reclaim our inherent rights, preserve our unique identity, and ultimately recover our ancestral homeland.
And in what ways has the partition of Kurdistan into 4 separate states altered your personal perception of what home truly means to you?
Certainly, every individual feels a longing for their homeland. Each person yearns for their street, the familiar avenues of their childhood where they once played, their school, their large family, and their cherished friends. For instance, my personal memories reside in every corner and part of Kobane. In my village, from when I was a child, I miss everything. Both of my grandfathers have passed away. And sadly, I couldn't visit their graves. And for me, that's a source of immense sorrow. Story that I just can't let go of. Someday, I hope that the day will come when Kurdistan is united and I will be able to visit my grandfather's graves. In Kobane, we lost so many people because of the war. Across Rojava, a staggering number, nearly 20,000 individuals, have perished since 2011 up to the present day. And across all 4 parts of Kurdistan, people are tragically dying every single day. In Turkey, in Iran, in Iraq, and in Syria, where there are Kurdish areas, where there are Kurdish cities, people die because they say, "We are Kurds." We are fighting for our legitimate rights in our homeland. We want to have our own nation once more and no longer be stateless across the globe. I hope that eventually no more Kurds, nor anyone else in the world, will have to perish for their freedom, for their democracy, and for their very own homelands, you know?
Do you perceive a resemblance in the historical journey of Israel serving as a source of inspiration for the Kurdish aspiration for independence? So, to put it another way, could Israel potentially be considered a guiding example?
Certainly. We consistently look to Israel as an exemplary model because they successfully established their state and developed their nation by confronting and resisting Islamic radicals, making it a true inspiration. There were so many political, how should I put it? Essentially, the whole world was against Israel. And Israel has demonstrated that they are fighting exclusively for their land and for no other reason whatsoever, you know? They will regain their rights. And we definitely take Israel as an example of how they succeeded in building their nation. We are also fighting so that we can have our country. We are fighting for our land, aren't we? But not with weapons, you see. Rather, it's about engaging in conversations, participating in discussions, speaking with politicians, and distributing our narrative across the globe. Because violence ultimately achieves nothing at all. And we are able to fight, but not against other people. We are merely protecting ourselves in a way. We have never, ever taken up our Kurdish weapons against civilian people or any other human beings. We have not ended the lives of others. No, we have. Only on our homeland. Us concentrated and our freedom, so our borders protected, you know, so that no foreign person comes and kills our people, our women, our elderly, our senior citizens, our children. So, if we turn our attention back 10 months, you surely must have heard how Islamist radicals, like Al-Julani, massacred the Alawites and the Druze, simply because they are Druze, because they are Alawites, and because the Druze support Israel. And that was the punishment meted out to the Druze. Their men were slaughtered, their children killed, and their elderly, their revered religious figures were cruelly mutilated. And then there are the Kurds. Just focus on their borders, you know, so that this situation doesn't return to the Kurdish area in Rojava. And naturally the Kurds are always delighted when Israel declares, all right, I stand with the Kurds in Syria, specifically in Rojava. Just like Israel took a stand with the Druze people. We would be happy if the state of Israel, the country of Israel, said, hopefully, we are with the Kurds. What happens to the Kurds happens to us. And we will protect the Kurdish people. Unfortunately, we haven't heard that to this day. Perhaps a great many things are transpiring secretly, things that you and I are completely unaware of. However, we must slowly come to realize that such a thing exists, that Israel indeed supports the Kurds. We also know that Israel trained the Peshmerga in Bashur, that is, in Bashur in Iraq, that Israel was the best friend of Mullah Mustafa Barzani, our Holy Father. We are fully aware of the entire narrative, but it's just not covered in the media. It should slowly come out in the media so the world knows, okay, there are two peoples in the East, Israel and the Kurds. Indeed, they each possess their own distinct problems, personal pains, and unique histories. We have to support both peoples, not just Israel and the Kurds, but also Alawites, Druze, Christians, Yazidis, Zoroastrians. There are so many minorities living in the Middle East, and they have no support from the rest of the world. Yes, we say, okay, America stands with the Kurds, fine. The question is, if America stands with the Kurds, where are they? Yes, what have they done so far? When America installs a president as a leader in Damascus, within Syria, this individual was formerly a member of ISIS. He was formerly associated with Al-Qaeda, and that individual was welcomed right into the White House in Washington. The political situation is quite straightforward. Currently, things have become quite messy. You can't tell who is aligned with whom, nor who is actually doing what. It exerts power, and all of this impacts civilians. Okay, we fight for freedom, and then suddenly it becomes freedom against freedom, meaning against those who had fought hard for their liberty. Then the person who fought for freedom is put in a corner where I say, okay, We fought ISIS, and now a man like Ahmad Sharaf is our president, worldwide recognized even in the EU, ever since he assumed power. Our EU was the very first to visit him, offering unwavering support. There are so many really sad stories, you know? For example, all the stories throughout the world are interconnected. The Ukraine with Russia, with Turkey, and Turkey is against Syria, Iraq, and also Iran. Iran against Lebanon, against Israel. Israel is fighting for its freedom, and you're fighting for its statehood, understand? Everyone is fighting against each other, and eventually you realize that they are all in it together, working toward a common, if unclear, goal. It's kind of like a tangled spider's web, this whole situation we're in. The way it's built, you know?
Among Kurdish people, there are also a range of diverse opinions regarding Israel. So how exactly would you go about characterizing the range of perspectives there? So, for instance, in the conflict between Rojava, Iraqi Kurdistan, Turkey, and even the diaspora.
Alright, so let's begin by discussing Rojava. Rojava is... About 20 or 25 years ago, it evolved into a model. The residents residing in Rojava now, they're no longer focused on religious ideals. Instead, their thoughts are directed towards freedom, democracy, and humanity. They've shifted their perspective completely. And they have almost as much. So many people have come from Rojava to Germany, to the entire EU, completely worldwide. This is what's called the diaspora, as refugees. They've been outside Rojava for a long time, and they almost all share the same opinion about Israel. Those people protect Israel, they stand in solidarity with Israel. There's an additional point to consider. For instance, in Iraqi Kurdistan, Bashur, in Rojhelat in Iran, and in Bakur in Turkey, a considerable number of deeply religious individuals reside. And that factor plays a truly significant role because the politicians who govern these nations invariably exert considerable influence between these distinct groups, these human communities, you understand. And so, they attempt to propagate this notion that Israel and the Jewish people are against the world, against Islamists, against all religions, and that they pose a dangerous threat. We have to protect ourselves from Israel, from that faith, from the Jews. And that's what was instilled in the schools within those three nations I brought up, as every single country manipulates the beliefs of the devout Kurdish populace, the Kurdish people. And you know, when individuals are very strongly connected with their religious beliefs, then you can't accomplish all that much, because no matter what you try to tell them, they truly only have one idea in mind. They were always told in the mosque that the Jews are against the Islamists. They don't think any differently. And that is also a political tactic that every country greatly participates in and plays a significant role through its religion. And naturally in Kurdistan, Iraq, I fully comprehend that as well. They can't openly side with Israel, because Iran is threatening Kurdistan, Iraq on one side, Turkey threatens Kurdistan, Iraq, Iraq threatens Kurdistan, Iraq. Back in 2014, when Kurdistan, Iraq gained autonomy, they declared, "We want our own country." The whole world was against Kurdistan. The airport was shut down. The borders with Iran, Turkey, and Iraq were also sealed. No food was delivered, there was no water, absolutely nothing. Simply because they proclaimed, "We desire our own sovereign state." And consequently, they conducted a referendum at that time, essentially an election. And imagine if Kurdistan, Iraq's first president, Necirvan Barzani, declared on media, "I stand with Israel." Believe me, they'd ruin him. There's another point. If Israel, as I told you at the beginning of the interview, if Israel truly says, "We are with the Kurds, no matter what happens, through bad times and good times, worldwide," in Brussels, in New York, in the places where global power decisions are made, if they affirm that we stand with the Kurds, then a great deal can be accomplished. And we were aware of that, you see.
You certainly hold a very pro-Israel stance, so do you experience agreement or perhaps more open opposition?
Naturally, we now declare ourselves as the diaspora located here in the EU. There are indeed numerous groups that are actively supporting Israel with their demonstrations, with their activism, with their interviews. Oh, the history of Israel has actually been widely disseminated among our Kurdish community here in the EU. And each individual is actively supporting Israel. And that's something that is truly spreading widely across society. And everyone is starting, for example, on their social media to share the Israeli flag with the Kurdish flag everywhere. There are numerous interviews among Kurds themselves, specifically between a religious Kurd and another Kurd who aligns with Israel. These conversations are certainly unfolding, you know. I can attest that a significant proportion, indeed a great many individuals, now unequivocally stand with Israel morally, physically, mentally, and in every conceivable way, fully supporting Israel.
However, you also mentioned to me that you face threats because you're so openly and positively expressing your position on Israel.
Of course, I also receive those daily threats both within Germany and from outside of Germany, but my sole concern rests with my family members who reside in Iraqi Kurdistan and in Rojava. Live. I constantly worry about them, otherwise I would unequivocally stand by my own convictions and beliefs, stand on the side of Israel, stand on the side of Kurdistan, stand on the side of humanity, and spread my voice further. If I were to have children, I'd pass on Kurdish and Israeli history to the next generation.
In your opinion, what aspects concerning Kurds and their solidarity with Israel are frequently overlooked or simply not reported by the media here?
Well, as I explained to you from the outset, there are almost no interviews featured on major networks, by which I mean the widely recognized channels. You understand? There are hardly any interviews, hardly any discussions, hardly any reports that Israel and the Kurds are together, that the Kurds stand with Israel. There's hardly anything. We wish that so much more would come out, you know. That Israel, when it comes to this specific topic, you know, wise. Because Kurds are not merely just 1 million, they actually comprise 80 million individuals globally. Here in the EU there are, in Germany alone, there are 1,200,000 Kurds.
You are also involved in social engagement within Germany. You work in emergency services and are connected with various aid projects. So, in what way does this humanitarian involvement seamlessly intertwine with your political dedication?
My volunteer work, you see, is directly intertwined with my political volunteer activities and endeavors. They are very much linked and connected. Both of these I do wholeheartedly. I do both from... Yes. So that I say, well, like in any country, if there is no volunteer work, is that right? One doesn't expect much from that country. As for me, I'm deeply passionate about volunteer work. My constant endeavor is to cultivate an excellent reputation for a community, to serve as an exemplary figure for its people. I am not affiliated with any particular political party regarding this matter. I simply use my own voice for this. And I share this voice with various groups, with individuals who also share similar thoughts and perspectives as myself, you know, the people who think just as I do.
What message would you like to convey to the Jewish and Israeli viewers who may be encountering for the very first time your voice, a Kurdish voice that unequivocally stands in solidarity with them, resonating so clearly on their side? Especially now, given that anti-Semitism is still escalating all over the world. Is there anything at all that you'd like to express?
Yes, so I would really like to start by discussing this specific topic. There are more than 300,000 people living in Israel, and nearly half of that population, if you were to consider it, represents many households in Kurdistan. These belong to the Jewish people, specifically the Kurdish Jewish people. They were also protected by the government of Iraqi Kurdistan, the KDP. We earnestly wish for them to eventually return to their homes and to reside there again. We would be overjoyed to encounter a Jewish person on the streets of Kurdistan once more, extend a warm welcome, invite them, and hike through the mountains together. That would truly make us, we would be very happy. And concerning the Viewers, I would say that the Kurdish people unequivocally stand in solidarity with you. We deeply respect your rich history, your arduous struggles, the strength of your survivors, and your cherished democratic values. Our solidarity with you is heartfelt, genuine, and profoundly rooted in our shared experiences. Also, the historic relationship between Israel and Barzani, as well as the support for the Peshmerga, will never be forgotten. And I also wish for the viewers to begin right now, on social media, through political engagement and everywhere else, to openly and actively discuss the Kurdish issue, as the Kurdish people are indeed standing firmly on your side. And I truly hope the President will acknowledge this as well. Minister Netanyahu, who unequivocally states right now, we stand in solidarity with the Kurds. That's precisely what we're hoping for. And to add another point, when I was in Israel a month ago this year, I explored the whole country, from north to south, top to bottom, seeing everything. I visited Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and practically every other place. I encountered Kurdish individuals who serve in the military, work within the Knesset, and are actively engaged in politics. I spoke with them, and they spoke to me in perfect Kurdish. I had the opportunity to meet Jewish individuals who actively support and stand in solidarity with the Kurdish people. Our Kurdish president, the representative for the Kurdish Jewish community, is a Kurd. He's a Bundeswehr soldier, Mr. Judah Joseph Yehuda. And he is a very kind person. And he is also trying to spread our voice through politics in Israel. And I wish, if I have the time again, that I can return to Israel and continue my work, my political endeavors.
Thanks. We'll link your Instagram and Facebook so viewers can find you. And so we express our gratitude for this discussion and your valuable time and extend our very best wishes for the remainder of the year. Thank you.
I also deeply appreciate it, and many thanks for your valuable time that you dedicated to us. We'll see each other.
See you, right.
Thank you.
Mena-Watch, the independent Middle East think tank. Be sure to also visit our website. There you'll discover new daily reports and in-depth, scientifically substantiated background analyses covering the history and current affairs of the MENA region.